Hi ladies and gents. Okay, so welcome back to Miss Raga's art room. It is spiral sculpture time. I love making these sculptures. First of all, it's made out of super cheap materials. This is all like recycled paper, leftover scrapboard from the high school magazine. That's it. Well, and I mean some paint, right? Some base paint and metallic paint. And you can get these really cool, beautiful sculptures. We're going to be working with obviously positive and negative space, working with movement, and there's just some really, really interesting stuff we can make with it. Ooh, here's one of my big ones here. All right, so some really cool sculpture work we're going to be doing. So how do we get started with this? Well, first, you're going to create your sculpture bag. On your sculpture bag, you're going to write down the following. First, your name, first and last. Make sure you've gotten a brown paper bag for me, and a Sharpie, okay? You'll put in your period or your block, right? Don't forget A or B day, depending on which you are, okay? 15 spirals minimum is my requirement for this. You have to have at least 15 spirals. Whether those are open loop spirals or tight spirals, right, the solid ones, we'll talk about the difference between those as we start sculpting today, all right? So what size spirals can you make? Well, a small spiral is gonna be between 1 and 2 strips of paper combined. Medium spiral is gonna be like 3 to 4 strips. A large spiral is going to be like 5 to 7. So I recommend take these notes on your paper bag directly. I would pause the video here so that you can just write this down, all right, and then we're going to move on to the actual sculpting next. Now the reason I like to write that down on the bag is because as I sculpt, I like to take notes for myself so I keep track of what I'm sculpting. You can see in my sculpture bag here some spirals I've started. Yay, okay. And that's going to be our little keeping place for all of our materials. So to get started, you're going to need a placemat, one of my junk placemats, okay? You're going to need some rubber bands, maybe some paper clip depending on open loops, okay? A glue stick, and of course, scrap paper. If you're working at home and you don't have my pre-cut sheets, grab any old catalog or magazine that somebody isn't using. Check first, make sure somebody isn't using it, okay? And what you'll do is you'll go ahead and you'll actually just tear the pages out. You can cut them out with a scissor and you can start building this way. So first things first, take your glue stick. You are gonna create a coating of glue over the whole surface of the paper. And you do have to work quickly. I'm not talking like it's gonna dry instantaneously, but you can't coat the paper and then walk away for 10, 15 minutes and expect it to stick. It'll definitely dry by that time. Get right to the edges. Your fingers are gonna get sticky, that's part of the fun of this. This is a great project for my ladies and gents who babysit over break or whatnot. This is fun. This is a fun, sticky thing little kids love to do. Okay, so go ahead, fold up like elementary school age. Fold up one edge of the paper, about a 1/2 inch, and smooth it on down. I like to use the cap or the base of the glue stick too to help kind of smooth it. And then you're just gonna keep folding over that 1/2 inch over and over and over again. You wanna have a nice, tight strip. I'm gonna keep building it up. Fold, fold, fold. Try to do as even a fold as possible. It's totally fine if it gets a little cockeyed or a little crooked. It will absolutely still work out, I promise you. Okay, there's our strip. Give it a good smooth down, make sure you get good contact. It should feel solid, not like it's got a bunch of little puffy layers to it. Now, with the seam facing up, okay, so see how there's no seam? Seam facing up. Coat the whole strip with glue again. And this is how we start the spiral, okay? What we do is we take the end and we roll it in on itself. You don't do this. That's just gonna give you kind of like a flat square. You gotta do a really tight roll on the end, kind of crunch it up. Start little. You kind of roll and then push it back on itself so it becomes nice and round. And then once you get it started, you can kind of hold at the sides, push with your thumb, and pull back at the same time, and that's going to give you a really nice, tight spiral. Kind of keep tucking it in on itself, almost. And I like to kind of pull back on the sides a little bit so it rolls nice and tight on itself. Okay, now, this could be a little spiral. I don't give you a requirement as to you have to have like 3 small or you have to have 4 medium and 6 large. No, no, no. You could do this entire sculpture with just small spirals. Why not? Okay. But I think it's interesting to create a variety of sizes. Just gives you a little bit more cool stuff to work with. So this could be, right, 1 to 2 strips, a small spiral. Well, let's build it up a little bit more. So I'm going to grab one of my larger ones from out of here. Okay, this is one that's got already about like, let's see, 1, 2, it's got about 3 layers on it. So let's build this up to like a big one, okay? So I'm gonna find the seam I last left off on. I'll grab one of my pre-made strips here. These are strips that I made for this video demo, okay? I don't recommend making like a bunch of strips ahead of time and then letting them dry and trying to do this, because once these dry, they lose that nice soft flexibility, which make it easy for them to roll. So I recommend making and rolling the glue strips within the same time frame that you're working. So you're gonna go end to end on the seam, like that. You're gonna hold in place, and then you keep wrapping around. The reason you wanna go end to end on the seam and not overlap is we don't wanna end up accidentally with like a big giant bump in our spiral. We want the outside to be kind of as smooth and uniform as possible. And what I can do is keep layering these strips up. Let's make a really big one. Let's make like a 7 one. So I hold with the rubber band to secure while I add glue to my next strip and continue building. So look for that seam up. And these were all strips that I made in the past like 10-15 minutes, so they're still nice and soft and gooey to build with. If I had let it go too much longer, unfortunately, they tend to become too dry and inflexible to work with. Let me get that tight on there. There we go. Okay, so there's 5. Oop, there's the bell. Let's do like 2 more to this. Okay, so really good coating of glue. Okay, get it right in there. Holding it, whoops. It does get a little sticky and slippery. You gotta have a little patience with yourself. Keep working it. Okay. And then 1 more on top of this. Now, all your spirals don't have to be solid. So this is a good big spiral. I'm gonna leave this to dry. Now I can't build with this yet. I have to let this spiral dry. So I'm gonna wrap it with the rubber band, and I'm gonna leave it overnight to dry. And when it dries, it'll be nice and solid and ready to build with. Okay, so I'm gonna let that sit for now in my sculpture bag. Cool. But I can also build open loops as well, which count as spirals also. Okay, so what you can do is you can take your strips of paper. You're still going to glue them up nice and good, but instead of rolling it into a tight spiral, you're going to kind of leave an opening, if you will, like so. See how I'm leaving a loop? I'm just holding at one end, and then I'm going to build the loop onto itself. Now this will get sticky, and that's okay. And you kind of smush and form that loop together, get good contact. And for these to dry and shape, what you need to do is go up to my basket of paper clips and use some paper clips to hold them end to end to dry in place, like so. Okay, so that is how you start building spirals for your paper spiral sculpture. Next time, in our next video, what you'll see is how to cut the base and actually start the assemblage, and even work with just strips as line, like so, okay, to create interesting shapes with your sculpture. All right, thanks for joining me in Miss Raga's Art Room.